Hello and welcome to Chef Talk. Today we are talking about the art of cooking with allergies. I'm here with our training and development director, Marletha Booker, and she is going to talk to us today about food allergies and cooking with food allergies and all of those amazing things. Hey Marletha, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you on our show today. And just to really talk to you a little bit about some of the things that people want to know when it comes to food allergies and eating on campus and even eating at home. So, just so you guys know a little bit about Marletha, like I said, she's our training and development director for campus dining. And she has a background in culinary arts. And so she studied culinary arts in college and moved into our training and development area. Marletha has supported our colleges and universities around the country. So depending on what school you're at, most likely Marletha's been there. so Marletha,
Probably so.
so let's talk today a little bit about just what are food allergies.
Okay, so the simplest explanation is that it's when your body's immune system attacks a specific protein in a food because it considers it a threat. And so your body's response to that is what's called an allergic reaction. And the food that causes that reaction is what's called a food allergy or a food allergen.
Okay, and so when we look at that food allergy, are there common food allergies or is it just person to person? Or are there some that are common?
Oh, absolutely. So, the most common food allergies are what's called the Big Eight. They've been dubbed that because those eight foods cause 90% of all food allergic reactions. And so, while someone can be allergic to any type of food, those eight foods cause the majority of food allergic reactions. And so, those foods are milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, peanuts, peanuts, tree nuts, wheat, and soy. And so you heard me struggle a little bit with the peanuts and the tree nuts, as most people do, because they are different. So tree nuts, of course, grow on trees, and peanuts, they grow underground. They are actually considered legumes or beans.
Wow, I actually did not know that. So it's good to know the difference between the peanuts and the tree nuts. You never know what you're going to learn when you tune in. So thank you for that, Marletha. So when we talk about these different food allergies for our students who are on campus, how do they, if they have one of these allergies, how do they navigate that and still be able to enjoy our dining programs?
Oh, that's a great question. So it's important to note, though, that Thompson Hospitality doesn't operate allergen-free kitchens, and that's not unusual. That's not uncommon. Most restaurants and food service companies don't. And so what that means is we utilize foods in that group of the big eight. So we utilize foods that are found in the big eight. And because we do that, there are certain things that we do to mitigate the risk of someone having an allergic reaction. So some of those things include um, preventing cross contact and providing access to ingredient information. We also require our managers to obtain ServSafe allergen certification, and then we provide training to all of our team members just overall on food allergies.
That's great. And so, if there's a student that has a food allergy as they're going into this program, what can they do when they're headed to campus?
Okay, again, another really great question. So, students with food allergies can look on the menu cards or the menu screens that are available in the accounts. They can also request from any manager to see the ingredients that are listed in any of our menu items. And so it's important to note that if someone does make that request, then the only items that are going to be listed as allergens will be items in the big eight. Again, those are the most common, and so they're listed there. And the reason that is because the I'm trying to remember the full name. It is the Food Allergy and Consumer Protection Labeling Act. And so they require that those eight items, again, the big eight, that they are listed on ingredient labels. And so if someone does request that information from one of our managers, then and they're allergic to something other than those items. So for instance, if someone's allergic to tomatoes, then they would have to read the entire ingredient list because it won't be outlined like it is for those 8 items. Personally, I recommend reading ingredient labels whether you have a food allergy or not. It's always important to know just what's in your food, what are you eating, and oftentimes those big 8 items, they're listed in or they're included in unexpected places. So for instance, at this point, it's probably common knowledge for many people that there's fish in Caesar salad dressing, right? There's anchovies in that. But we often forget or just may not know that there's wheat in hot dogs, or that there's nuts in pesto sauce and traditionally made pesto sauce. And so just being mindful, particularly if you have allergies, is very important, and asking for that information if it's not readily available.
That's great information. And so many of our students are going to be doing a lot of takeout dining, meaning that they're going to go into our dining halls, grab their food, and take it back to their dorms. And so as they're taking these things back to their dorms, they may find that they are sharing food space with someone who has an allergy. Do you have any tips for that person? Should there be a separation in refrigerators or things like that, if they're sharing a room with someone who has an allergy?
So it really depends on how severe that allergy is. There are some people who might break out in hives and that's it. But you also have some people whose allergy is so severe that they may suffer from anaphylaxis, which is the worst kind of allergic reaction. That's when your throat closes up basically, and you can die from that. And so for those students who are sharing spaces and you discover that your new roommate has a food allergen, I would say just first ask them what they would be comfortable with. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have to change your diet, but there will be some things that you may not be able to share. So as an example, in our accounts or many accounts, we have a separation of items for allergen and items that are not considered in the big 8. And so that may be something to consider if you are going to school with someone who does or does not have an allergen, maybe having separate silverware, separate utensils, things like that. But there's some other things that we do in our accounts just to prevent cross contact, which is the transfer of an allergen to a non-allergen surface or food. Some of the things that we do to prevent that would just be monitoring the preparation and the cooking of items, and then just talking to students. I would definitely recommend that. Our line servers at some of our accounts are the most knowledgeable people ever. I can go to one of our schools in particular that comes to mind. The line server, she knows the allergens and she knows everything for like almost every student. She'll say, no, such and such can't have that because it has nuts in it. Such and such can't have that because they can't have milk. So it's just very interesting. But not to ramble on and on, but if you are going into a dorm situation where someone has an allergen or you yourself have a food allergen, then making that known is very important. And then also possibly providing your own utensils and silverware, things like that would be helpful as well.
Great. Well, you guys heard it here. Whether you're moving into a dorm, moving into an apartment, whatever your college year looks like, or even if you're not a college student and you're still enjoying our show, if you do have food allergies, communication is definitely going to be critical in being successful. Well, Marletha, it has been amazing chatting with you today about cooking with food allergies. We appreciate your expertise and we're glad to have you today. So thanks for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. You guys have been watching Chef Talk. I'm your host, Daniela Smallwood, and I will see you on the next episode.